In January 2003, Blink-182 rented a mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, the wealthiest neighborhood in San Diego. They soundproofed the windows, hauled in a classic API analog console, and turned the entire house into a recording studio. For almost a year, three guys who became famous for running naked through the streets of Los Angeles would live, sleep, fight, and create inside those walls. But what happened inside that house was nothing like what the world expected from them. They watched the US invasion of Iraq unfold on live television and then walked into the next room to write lyrics. They played vocal recordings into the shower of the house to capture its natural reverb, and they convinced Robert Smith of The Cure to record across 2 continents. They also incorporated deep family references and letters from World War II into the album. This album is about sex, about violence, about depression, about death. It is the moment when the biggest pop-punk band on the planet decided to destroy everything that people thought they knew about them and rebuild it from scratch. As Travis Barker said before recording, let's pretend this is our very first record. Forget what anyone expects from us. Forget what anyone thinks of us. This is Blink-182's self-titled record. The band never wanted it to label it with anything. They wanted it to speak for itself. Let's take a look behind these lyrics. Captain America introduces us to the first song on the record. And funny enough, the song was actually called Action pre-release, but the title was changed for being too corny. This was the first track written for the album, and for it, Mark and Tom had the idea of writing it separately in 2 different rooms. They both wrote about sex, without discussing the subject ahead of time. Tom wrote the verses about the passionate, lustful side, while Mark wrote the romantic chorus. The song itself works perfectly as an introduction to the album, as fans of Take Off Your Pants and Jacket and Enema of the State would appreciate the classic pop-punk Blink sounds. And this is why it's a safe first single, as many other songs will start showing off the band's more experimental side. This is clearly first seen on the following track, Obvious, that hits us with a wall of sound, leading us directly to a darker tone not previously heard on any Blink-182 song. The song explores the turmoil and confusion inherent in a relationship marked by betrayal and repetition, questioning the possibility of healing and moving forward when the trust and vision are lost. Travis stated in the album's liner notes that it was a really dark song in the album. They were thinking failure meets Led Zeppelin meets The Police. He loves the verses in this song. This was the first time the band experimented with lower tunings, specifically drop C sharp, to achieve the heavier sound. This dark tone, not only of this song but the album as a whole, was somewhat inspired by the US invasion of Iraq. Tom stated that they were all glued to the TV watching bombs explode over another country, and then suddenly they needed to go to the next room and record some takes or write some lyrics. The political ambience really affected their mood. The song itself clearly sees a broken relationship, with the singer finding out his partner has cheated on them. They eventually burn bridges and leave everything behind, citing that there was no future or vision for them. And then we hit what might be one of Blink-182's most iconic tracks. Where are you? It is the haunting depiction of the effect depression can have on a relationship and its subsequent fallout. Just as feeling this, for I Miss You, Tom and Mark agreed on a general theme, in this case, vulnerability and the heart-wrenching pain of being in love, before going to separate rooms to write their lyrics. But this song is especially memorable for its instrumentals. For a band known for overdriven marshals and fast-paced tracks, they set themselves a rule. For this track, nothing can be plugged in. They were inspired by The Cure's The Love Cats, most notably in the swing of the drums, the use of brushes, and of course, the features of an upright bass and cello. Once the lyrics start singing about a spider eating the insides of a bug, I think people take that and go, maybe it's not about their families, DeLonge said. And it talks about celebrating Halloween on Christmas and all these different dark kinds of things. The song's more about the vulnerability and kind of heart-wrenching pain you feel when you're in love and when you're a guy and you're trying to tell a girl, don't waste your time coming and talking to me because, in my head at least, you probably already gave me up a long time ago.
And as I stared, I counted the webs from all the spiders, catching things and eating their insides, like indecision to call you and hear your voice of treason. Will you come home and stop this pain tonight? Stop this pain tonight. Don't waste your time on me. You're already the voice inside my head.
The song itself also contains a nod to the 1994 film The Nightmare Before Christmas. The idea for this came from Travis himself, who asked Mark to include this reference as a nod to his then wife, Sanna Moncler. They were both obsessed with the film and even had a Nightmare Before Christmas themed wedding.
The unsuspecting victim of darkness in the valley. We can live like Jack and Sally if we want, where you can always find me. And we'll have Halloween on Christmas, and in the night we'll wish this never ends. We'll wish this never ends.
We are swiftly taken from the album's quietest moments to a portrayal of a very specific scene. In the middle of a bar, where a dance hardcore track is playing, a strikingly beautiful woman appears. The world slows down, and everyone in the room loses focus on everything but her. This is violence, or at least the lustful image that Tom had in mind while writing the track. The track explores the concept of interpersonal tension as a form of violence. It frames the power dynamic of a femme fatale figure, an attractive and seductive woman, especially one who is likely to cause distress or disaster to a man who becomes involved with her. Or as the lyrics put it, one who kills with no life to spare, where victims are left to bleed. Then we suddenly turn into a distant memory, echoed by a soft piano melody and spoken word interlude that arise at this point in the album. In this interlude, renowned voice actress Joanne Whaley narrates a sincere love letter written by Mark Hoppus' grandfather to his grandmother while he was fighting in World War II. But the tenderness of that letter gives way to something far more unstable. The term Stockholm Syndrome was coined in the early 70s to describe the puzzling reactions of 4 bank employees to their captor. It describes the psychological phenomenon in which hostages come to identify and even care for the captors in a desperate, usually unconscious act of self-preservation. Blink tackles this delusion in one of their most experimental tracks and places themselves in the mind of a paranoid person. Mark said in the album's liner notes that the song itself is about paranoia, being afraid of the outside world, convinced that people can hear your thoughts. It showcases the dark side of being in love, and here, in the state of delusion, he's questioning reality and wonders if his captor, or in this case, toxic relationship, can hear his thoughts and whispers. As an additional side note, in order to produce that unique sound in the vocals, for this track, they actually recorded them in the shower of the house they rented to record the album. But then we switch to another scene, a powerful dark song based on a picture Tom DeLonge shaped in his mind. He imagined a boy and a girl inside a car while it's raining outside. The atmosphere is tense, and their connection and relationship lingers on a thread. He saw the rain falling on the windshield over and over while this guy was saying and thinking these things about wanting to kiss her and make her stay.
The drops of rain, they fall all over. This awkward silence makes me crazy. The glowing sideburns light up on her. I'll try to kiss you if you let me.
It's a song about the inner emotional turmoil of wanting to go back with someone to some time and space where they were closer together. But this person knows it's no longer possible, leading to a tight stomach and tidal wave feelings crossing his mind. Instrumentally, it sees the band breaking more into the post-hardcore sound, influenced by the members' side project Boxcar Racer. I'd like to note that the version that we hear today is significantly edited. The original recording was over 6 minutes long, and featured a complex drum and bass breakdown by Travis Barker, reflecting the band's desire to break away from standard song structures. At the end of Down, we switch to one of Blink-182's most experimental tracks to date. The band brought in Sick Jacken, co-founder of the hip-hop group Psycho Realm, to produce and help write the Fallen Interlude, which helps the somber sounds of Down seep into the frustrated angst of the following track, Go. In the album liner notes, Travis Barker said it reminds him of driving in a car, jaded. Jack Gonzalez, the song's producer, came in and gave him a beat to work on at the end of Down and told him to elaborate on it. He wrote cool melodies, guitar, and bass. Travis came in and switched the beat to get into the track, and did some cool percussion. It was a cool chill song to listen and just think. And from this, we shift to the fast-paced midpoint of the album, where Mark Hoppus sings some autobiographical lyrics of domestic violence. Mark recalls back in 1983, when he was just 11 years old, hearing his stepfather screaming at his mom, inciting a sense of fear in him. He urges his mother to go and just drive away, but his mother decides to return to his abusive father, citing nowhere to stay. The song uses the engine dying as a metaphor for the fear and his broken heart. And right after the short blast of Dude Ranch-inspired pop-punk, we switch right back into the experimental and atmospheric scenes of the album. In Asthenia, we see the roots of Tom DeLonge's side project Angels on Airwaves taking place. With a long intro sampling the actual transcript from the official NASA Apollo 9 technical air-to-ground voice transcription, it drives into the themes of isolation and space, all topics that Tom will explore later in his other projects. In the album liner notes, he said, "This song is about one thing only, an astronaut sitting in a space capsule about the size of a car, floating above the Earth. He's contemplating if even coming back or not will make a difference on such a negative place. A song about the loss of hope. A term was coined for the breakdown of life in space, and it is called Asthenia, the name of the track. It is a beautifully sad song about getting lost in space, and it sees the band touching more mature concept not previously explored on previous records. Then, from the isolation of space, we come back down to something far more familiar. Always, one of Blink-182's most iconic singles, became more famous because of the three-way music video than the song itself. Either way, the track was described as a love song, about the desperation of trying to fix a dying relationship. The band claims it was influenced heavily by the 1980s sound, and more specifically, The Cure. In the liner notes, Mark added that this is a total 80s song. At the outro, there are 4 bass guitars being played, a Fender Bass 4, a Fender percussion bass, doing 2 different things, and a Roland synth bass that sounds like a keyboard. One of the things he loves best about this song is Travis's percussion, using the cassava as an accent before the snare hit. Travis then added that for Always he was thinking missing persons, so they recorded everything super dry and 80s feeling. The cymbals are on top of each other, with cool keyboards in the outro. There's a really fast timbre in the choruses. He thought anyone can love this song. It's a simple song. And he's pretty much right. One of the almost most straightforward pop-friendly songs. And it also became a staple because of that, for being so easy to listen to. Then, the following 2 tracks reference one of the band's greatest friends, sometimes even called Blink-182's 4th member, producer Jerry Finn. Easy Target is a gory retelling of one of Finn's childhood anecdotes. Tom confirmed in the liner notes, while Mark eventually added via Tumblr that Holly was a girl Jerry had a crush on, who was, in his words, the hottest girl at school. Jerry was convinced she didn't even know he existed. Then one day, Holly called him and invited him over. He couldn't believe it. He hopped on his bike and rode over as fast as he could. When he pulled into her driveway, Holly and her friends popped out from the bushes and balconies and pelted him with water balloons. It's important to note the stark contrast between the mundane childhood story and the violent, almost horror movie language Blink uses to retell it. The final line can also reference Mommy's Little Monster, the debut album of the Southern California punk band Social Distortion. Though this is just speculation and inference, and hasn't been directly confirmed by the band. And then, with a final bass note, we transition yet again to one of the most experimental songs on the record. We are led to the emotional and narrative payoff of Easy Target with all of this. The former tells the story of humiliation, Holly inviting Jerry over only to ambush him. The latter picks up the aftermath. where Jerry still can't get the girl off his mind despite how poorly she treated him. The lyrics include the line "Use me, Holly," carrying the character name across both tracks. But what shines now is not necessarily the lyrics, but who sings them. In this track, the lead vocals were sung by Robert Smith of The Cure. It was recorded across 2 continents, and it almost didn't make the album. Mark shared in the album's liner notes that they were all huge fans of The Cure. Having Robert Smith collaborate on a track was a total dream come true for them. They recorded this song in a rather unconventional manner. Tom sang the lead first 2 lines of the chorus, and then they sent the track to Robert over in England. Smith told Spin in 2004 he got a message saying Blink-182 wants to talk to you about doing something on their new album. He went to his teen nephews and nieces and asked, "What do you think if I were to sing with Blink-182? And they told him that would be so fucking cool. So he borrowed some albums of them and started listening to them, and he actually thought they had some really good songs. He thought some of it was awful, and some other songs were really sort of ass. He can't explain to you in what context he listened to those albums because it was too personal. It was like a family tragedy. The whole family was together, and to kind of alleviate the atmosphere, one of the nieces put on a Blink-182 album, and it really kind of did the trick. He was listening to it because he was still feeling pretty miserable, and he thought, they're actually really good." I also want to note that Songfacts noted that if it wasn't for the band's eventual hiatus, the music video would have been directed by M. Night Shyamalan and would have been about vampires. But after digging a bit deeper on my side, Hoppus recalled that they were on tour in Japan, having lunch at their hotel, when they spotted Shyamalan at a nearby table. DeLong walked up to him and pitched him on directing a Blink video. Within half an hour, Shyamalan was sitting with them brainstorming ideas. Hoppus said Shyamalan did come up with a whole treatment and everything, but it was going to cost around $20 million. DeLong theorized it fell through because of music video budgets, joking, "I think when he found out what music video budgets really were, he was like, this is so beneath me." No, he didn't say that, but of course he was like, "I'm not going to do this. This is a nightmare." Crucially, they never specified which song the video would have been for, and no other reference of vampires can be found on any official source. Still, I wanted to highlight that we almost got an M. Night Shyamalan Blink music video. But back to the record. Here's Your Letter serves as a letter to someone, one's partner, to tell them it's over, and there's no way to fix the broken relationship. Mark stated in the album's liner note, this song is about people's inability to communicate with one another, and how words and explanations only confuse the issues. Throughout the track, Mark is held in a tight spot and constantly switches from wanting to fight for the relationship and letting it all go while burning bridges as they part ways. Many people have noted that the song somewhat foreshadows the band's future, as they eventually went on an indefinite hiatus after this album. And then, the final track on Blink-182's self-titled album. I'm Lost Without You tells the story of a man whose partner, likely of long standing, has passed away. The song shows the man's feelings as he tries to cope with living alone in a world without his love. The track not only serves as a 6-minute-long epic conclusion to the record, but also a closure of a narrative trope in the album. It circles back to Mark's grandmother's letter from World War II. The phrase "I'm completely lost without you" resurfaces as the title and central refrain of the album's closing track. It is a harrowing note that resurfaces during the final dreamy ballad track. So the album creates this arc, a real letter from a real war expressing the agony of separation. And then, the album's final song picks up that exact phrase and recontextualizes it as the cry of a man losing a romantic relationship. Officially, the album ends here, but I wanted to include one final song which happens to be one of my favorite Blink-182 tracks in this video, as it happens to have been recorded during the Untitled sessions. Not Now is about an out-of-body experience after death, the moment when you die, leave your body, and can visualize your loss and its impact on the people you love, but you can't communicate with them. Tom imagined what happens when you die. When you're standing there and you're looking at your lady. She's there. She's trying to say goodbye, but it's too late. And you feel and know she's right there. She can't see you and doesn't know you are there. In the chorus, he begs their significant other to stay with them until the time comes, so that they can spend their last moments together, and just hopes to see them in the afterlife. To support the new album, Blink created an entirely new identity, one that has become iconic in the pop-punk scene. A smiley face with X's for each eye and 5 arrows at the left side of the face. Travis was at the origin of this design, as he wanted a Blink logo for his clothing brand, Famous Stars and Straps. He recalled in an interview that it just had to be cool with kind of happy face, but he wanted the arrows. You know, like the Jam was his favorite band, they always had arrows in their logos and stuff. It was just like kind of inspired by pop art. Reference points included the Black Flag bars or the Descendants' famous drawing. Travis invited his tattoo artist Mr. Cartoon to create artwork for the record, and his friend Esteban Oriol to handle photography. He said his style, incorporated into Blink's, didn't make them too gangster. It just gave them a bit of an edge. It was cool to feel Blink had a dangerous side. And that pretty much covers it for this amazing album. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. And if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe. I also made another video where I talked about the band's history, and more specifically, how it was retold on the song One More Time. I'll leave it somewhere over here, and I'll see you on the next video.